Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the last skill I'm trying out for the Tota event, which is Blast Rain of Trathus, a skill you've probably never heard of or ever seen. I didn't know it existed until literally a couple days ago, and the only reason I found out this existed is because I told myself I was going to make a build with the skill Conflagration, which is a different bow skill which causes a fire dot. And when I was playing that through the campaign, some dude said, hey, you should try out Blast Rain of Trathus. And TLDR is Blast Rain of Trathus is a much better feeling ability. It has a really high base radius. This is actually with Conk Effect supporting it. Like, that is the AoE with Conk Effect. If I put this in a different skill, it would have a bit bigger AoE, not having the less multiplier from Conk Effect. And it just applies a big fire dot. Think of it as like a caustic arrow type skill, but with fire as the main damage source. It scales with gem levels. It scales with minus res. It scales with increased damage, fire dot multi, that sort of thing. And you can also play this with like a Mana Forge setup, so you can Mana Forge the Conflag. I'm just manually using the Conflag when I get to single target. Otherwise, I'm just clearing with Blast Rain of Trathus, which is a pretty satisfying skill, I would say. And this is kind of what it looks like in terms of our single target, roughly. This character isn't a weak character by any stretch of the imagination. And our damage is halfway decent because we have some fairly good gear. Like, we have a multi-link helmet that we crafted on stream yesterday, and we have a fairly decent dot multi-quiver, along with adrenaline boots, a pretty high damage ring. This is not cheap gear by any stretch of the imagination. And you might be wondering, Lance, you're playing in Freesia League. Is this something you could play in the base game? And quite frankly, I think this would play very well as either a chieftain, where you could get obviously the Hinokor explodes and be like 90 max res with the Valakos node, and then you'd have a more defensive ascendancy, which you could be a little bit more aggressive on your damage nodes you click throughout your tree, or you could play it as an elementalist, where you grab basically quite a bit of damage nodes and get AoE. For example, this ascendancy has prod speed, AoE, skill effect duration, 40% more damage, and additional curse. So I'm playing it with some damage nodes. Fun thing to note about this, as far as I can tell, I'm not sure the duration or how fast this skill falls down actually changes with prod speed. For example, if I grab an acceleration shrine, which I actually think there was one in this map, so I can actually demonstrate this. If I grab an acceleration shrine gives a bunch of prod speed. I don't think prod speed actually changes the rate at which the arrow falls from the sky, not at least that I can tell. So originally when I was planning to do Bog Shaman, I thought it would make a bit of the quality life of the build play better, which it might be the case with Conflag, but I don't think it's the case with Blast Rain of Trathus. I think it has a set speed it falls at. And let me try to demonstrate this. So there's an Excel Shrine. Kind of get a feel for how fast the arrows are falling right now. And then look afterwards, after we get Excel Shrine. It should be a much faster prod speed, but it pretty much falls at the same rate. Obviously, we're attacking faster because, we have 75 action speed or whatever it is, but the prod speed doesn't seem to affect it. So when I'm looking at this ascendancy, it's not actually giving me that much. The duration's kind of nice, but we can attack way faster than the duration would ever wear off, so that's not really an upside, and it's just kind of some AoE with a huge minus res penalty. If I was going to play like an Elementalist, I could grab the Golem node, I could grab Heart of Destruction. Those sorts of things would give a bunch of AoE and damage with no downside of res, and I think it would play actually better than this character is playing right now. The only big difference is if you were an Elementalist, you obviously wouldn't have Hinokors explode. You'd have to get explode through other means. Potentially you'd run the all damage ignite ascendancy, go like an Orias Flask. You have to do some stuff like that. It would be weaker explodes, but the thing is, the skill, even without explode, can feel fairly good clearing enemies from my experience, as it has a pretty big base radius. This, again, is with Conk Effect, and the radius is still quite large. Its base radius to spread, I think, is 4 meters on the skill. Let me check. Yeah, it's 4 meters on the skill base radius for that thing that, shoots out. And if you don't know anything about area skills, base radius of 4 meters is huge. Very few skills have that much of a base radius, so that's why I'm trying to stress that it is pretty good baseline clear, and then if you add some AoE on top of that, you're going to be feeling pretty good. So yeah, this is the skill I went to go with. It's pretty basic stuff in terms of our character's gearing. It's a lot of fire dot multi, damage over time. We got the shock node from Elementalist to inflict enemies taking increased shock damage. I was pretty lazy about my reservation space. I just went blood magic and did Eternal Blessing because I just didn't really want to deal with mana. I was being kind of lazy about it. Ultimately, when you go blood magic, you lose mana forge, which means you lose being able to mana forge frenzy and proc some other debuffs automatically. I don't think blood mage is necessarily the correct play to go. I just wanted to be lazy and not really have to think about fixing my mana or anything. It's the last couple days of the event, I'm just trying to test some skills out and see how they play. And all together, my takeaway is Blast Rain of Trathus is actually a pretty solid skill. It has the same issues pretty much every other dot skill in the game has, which is its end game scaling is it's gonna be finite. Even if you min max really hard, you're going to be struggling to even get to dot cap, and then once you get to dot cap, well, you're erasing every enemy in the game. But you get what I'm saying. It's not a hit build where you can scale into hundreds of millions, but it'll be comfortable for the 95% of all content. The only content you're not going to be having a fun time in is something like Delve, where the monsters get just crazy HP scaling. All in all, Blast Rain Trathus, very satisfied playing the skill. Con flag it's okay. It works as just an extra damage source. If it's like any dot build, like let's say you're playing cold dot, you use vortex and you use cold snap. If you're playing a chaos dot, you use essence drain and you use soul rend. You stack multiple dots together. That's a way you can kind of leverage getting some more damage. Like my blast rain says it has a 3.8 million tooltip, whereas my con flag says it does 1.4 mil. Now that's still significantly less, but the time it takes to add it in, that's 30% more damage or whatever it is, right? So it's nice. It's got some support to it. I think with Mana Forge arrows, playing a dot archer kind of has some upsides. If GGG chooses to buff some of the dot archetype, give us some exceptional gems for dot skills. Maybe they add another fire dot skill to the archer's arsenal, or give some, they outright just buff the skills. Honestly, I think it's playable as is with its current numbers. And then if they buff the skills, it could be actually a pretty strong option. The biggest limitation, obviously, is this skill only comes from Heist. So on League Start, there will be not a lot of them on trade, or you might have to manually go into some of those gem heists to try to find it yourself, that sort of thing. Yeah, anyways, I enjoyed playing the skill. I think it's kind of a really satisfying skill. That's pretty much the video. This will be our last Tota character, and the next videos you'll see is basically going to be some League Start prep, my thoughts on the reveal stream, all that sort of stuff. I might even do a bingo right before the reveal stream tomorrow, just for the fun of it. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles, and we got a big reveal coming soon. I'll see you guys there. Take care. Have a good one.